What's up, guys? It's your boy, the essential John L. Crossfire, aka the real main event, aka the Rogue Soldier, and today you're about to learn firsthand just what it's like to be caught in the crossfire. But above all else, prepare yourself, because in this very moment, today, right now, you are about to be caught in conversation. Hello one and all, and welcome to episode 61 of Caught in Conversation. As always, I am the essential John L. Crossfire. I have stolen one of Mrs. Crossfire's sugar-free mango monsters. Some good shit. It's some good shit, pal. Some good shit. This week, not much really has been overly exciting. Myself and Mrs. Crossfire, we've been binge watching some Fresh Prince of Bel-Air since Mrs. Crossfire, she's never seen the original series, and we really want to get on to the remake, the much darker version. We've heard some good reviews about that one, but yeah, Mrs. Crossfire hasn't seen the original, so we're currently making our way through that. And outside of that, pretty much all I've done is I've just kind of played some video games. My headaches while playing video games aren't as bad anymore. It's still a bit of a struggle with the vision in my left eye, because it's not as cloudy as it once was, but because it is slowly starting to heal, which obviously is a good thing, the blurriness has become more noticeable, if that makes sense, because it's actually doing its job now, whereas beforehand my right eye was doing pretty much almost 100% of the work. But yeah, I'm able to play some video games, which is always good, especially when I'm off work, can't do anything else, and when Mrs. Crossfire's at work, what else do I do, right? But shout out to Catherine, I'm going to call her Auntie Catherine on this, I don't know if she'll ever listen to it or not, but for buying the webcam that I was looking at on my Amazon wishlist. So expect video footage of this podcast at some point down the line. Obviously, I'm not going to get into a point where I'm doing video footage every single week, but if I have like in-person interviews or the Markapalooza episodes or something like that, just special episodes in general, you expect, to see some video of that. I was very excited for it to arrive. I'm kind of considering... Sorry, that energy drink just kind of hit me. I'm kind of considering starting a Twitch. I won't be able to show actual game footage. I won't be able to show actual footage just yet, because I still need to get my hands on a capture card, but kind of just want to get it all up and running and just do some face cam footage and work out how it goes, and probably just play some WWE 2K22 or maybe some Hot Wheels Unleashed, hell, maybe even, just do a live stream where I'm just colouring in or something, and just basically just do a face cam and just shoot the shit with you guys. But yeah, I've got the camera, so expect some kind of content of some form. When I do get the capture card, I also want to get a PS2 to HDMI converter, because I'm going to start doing some PS2 wrestling games on my YouTube channel, and as I said, maybe even start a Twitch as well. But I'm going to be doing a season mode, most likely on SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, but just take your pick of any of the PS2 wrestling games. Really, the only one that I don't have is SmackDown Just Bring It Be. I've got all the other ones from Shut Your Mouth all the way through to SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, so do like a season mode or a Road to WrestleMania or something. But also the main thing I want to do, and it's something that seems to be popular amongst my wrestling friends, is I want to do a GM mode for SmackDown vs. Raw 2006 or 2007. I didn't like the one on 2008, so that's completely out of the question. But most likely 2007. I'm hoping we can find a way to make those as interactive as possible, whether, you guys are helping me decide on a main event for a GM mode, or maybe if I do a season mode, maybe you guys can even help me in the creation of, maybe we can have our own Caught in Conversation original character that you guys can kind of help me name him and decide what style of wrestler he is, and yada yada yada. It's all just ideas at the moment, but they're ideas that are literally keeping me awake at night, so that's got to be a good sign, because if I'm passionate about it, it's good, just like this podcast. At least I've been told that it's good, not to pat myself on the back, but it's a little while away yet, but the cogs are turning. And moving away from that, though, shout out to Catherine as well, who bought the Indigenous Parramatta Eels jersey I was also eyeing off on my wish list. I'm waiting for that to arrive, but yes, I'll probably do an unboxing or unwrapping of that on my Instagram when it does get here. But I'll hopefully remember to actually save it as a reel as well, because the one of the camera accidentally saved as just a regular post. And I realized after I'd posted the post, say that 10 times fast, that I didn't actually show the camera in the actual unboxing. It just showed me getting it out of the packaging that it arrived in. So lots to learn here, but nonetheless, thank you to Catherine. As I've stated multiple times already, but not looking for a handout. But if anyone was feeling extra generous and wanted to help your boy out, check out the link tree. My Amazon wishlist is in the bio. But the song of the week this week is Let Me Let Go by Citizen Soldier. This is one of their softer slash slower songs from their new album, from their upcoming album, Scarecrow, at least from the ones that they have released thus far. This again, of course, about fighting the stigma against mental health. And as I always say on the pod, it's not weak to speak. It's okay to not be okay. All the stuff that may sound cliche to some, but it is still very much true nonetheless. But again, that song is Let Me Let Go by Citizen Soldier. Over in the wrestling, though, this is probably going to be a short-ish episode, and I've only really got predictions slash preview for this weekend's upcoming SummerSlam event, but something that I've got to talk about, as is probably every other wrestling podcast in the past week, to be honest, but I digress. I felt like I needed to talk about it, is the whole news that was confirmed by WWE themselves, and that is that Triple H has been given the head position, or given the position of head of creative, along with his head of talent relations position. So he's going to be extremely busy, extremely hands-on with pretty much any and all talent going forward. But there hasn't actually been any word since this announcement on what Bruce Pritchard's stance with the company now will be going forward. But it is just crazy to me that just a few days after myself and Mrs. Crossfire, we had our conversation on what is now last week's episode, that everything once again was just turned on its head. I said to Mrs. Crossfire, though, that I feel like they should keep Bruce. They should just have him be the head writer for NXT 2.0. Let him just focus on that. Let him do his whole tits and ass thing over there, whatever. And then have Paul Heyman do that for SmackDown while they're both respectively still reporting to Triple H, and then have Triple H himself focus solely on the Raw brand. And I'm really hoping that, something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be those people, but I really hope they kind of divide it. Not divide it. That's probably not the proper. It's probably not the proper word to use. But I hope that I'm hoping they can kind of go back to the brand split and really tighten it up, especially if the Survivor Series is still going to be Raw versus SmackDown later this year. I was talking to Mrs. Crossfire about that, and they either need to get NXT involved again, or they really need to tighten this brand split up, because the last few times they've done it, it's been like 2 or 3 weeks out of Survivor Series and you're having guys fight for brand supremacy, and they've literally just spent the better part of a year on the brand that they're opposing against. Like, I guess, it's kayfabe and whatever, but just, it's the little things, right? Like, make everything make sense, make everything count. I feel like it sounds too obvious, but yet it still seems so difficult. And it's not just WWE, like even your smaller promotions have it. It goes over to Ring of Honor, goes over to AEW, New Japan. There's always some sort of inconsistency somewhere. Like, hell, even I've been inconsistent with this podcast, but I just hopefully that's one thing that really gets tightened up. And the big thing, and I don't know if it will happen, but Triple H himself said back in like 2014 or 2015, whenever he was on the Steve Austin podcast, that the one thing that he really wants to do, and I don't know if he's still on that same stance, but he wanted to take Raw from 3 hours back to 2 hours. And honestly, I feel like when Raw was 2 hours, that's when it was at its peak. And I know that, possibly short term, it would mean cutting down on sponsors and stuff, which short term could potentially mean money lost. But I strongly feel that even just from a fan perspective, I feel like long term, cutting Raw back to 2 hours is definitely going to help the product. And according to the old dirt sheets as well, according to this whole Triple H thing, there's apparently been a bunch of talent in AEW that have confirmed, apparently, to their sources that if Triple H had have already been in charge, they never would have even left, which does make you think. Like a few names like Swerve, Keith Lee, Adam Cole, their names immediately jump out at me. And obviously some of those names, they were released due to budget cuts and didn't actually just get to have the pleasure of having their contracts, expire by choice, like your Adam Coles, Kyle O'Reilly, and even current free agent Johnny Gargano. But you could argue that some people, especially like a Karrion Kross or someone, wouldn't have even been released in the first place if, Triple H had have already been in charge. But at the end of the day, it's all speculation. But speaking of speculation, there is still a lot of rumors, reports, speculation in the last week that we might be seeing the returns of Bray Wyatt and Johnny Gargano specifically. Johnny Gargano is one that I do see coming back for sure, and it would be more fantasy booking and wishful thinking than anything else. But as I said last week in my conversation with Mrs. Crossfire, I feel like with Tommaso Ciampa, or just Ciampa now, on the main roster, I can see Gargano and Ciampa reuniting as DIY on the main roster. And there's even more speculation, as I glossed over with Mrs. Crossfire as well last week, that Kevin Dunn could possibly be on his way out of the door with Triple H in charge. There's been reports in the last couple of days that apparently Stephanie McMahon as well, who is the chairwoman and co-CEO along with Nick Khan, that apparently she has some sort of heat with Kevin Dunn as well. So it'll be interesting to kind of keep your eyes peeled on that situation. There's a lot of people that would argue that if we had someone else in charge of production other than Kevin Dunn, that could improve the product as well. But again, Cracked Record Crossfire over here. Put that on a t-shirt. Say that 5 times fast. Whatever. But Cracked Record Crossfire over here. It's all speculation. It is what it is. But I did catch the highlights from this past week's Raw, and although a lot of stuff was reportedly written the week before the show when Vince was still in charge, I did find from what I watched that it did flow a lot better than it has in the last few weeks and months. Dare I even say the last handful of years. Of course, there is a lot of negative Nancys out there that are screaming placebo effect, and hey, look, if that is the case, then whatever, I'll eat my words. But honestly, it's all subjective. It's all a matter of opinion. From what I saw, it did look a lot more enjoyable. And I haven't had a chance to catch up on NXT, but I did pop on social media for seeing the return of Alundra Blaze, aka Medusa, on this week's episode off the back of Cora Jade throwing her half of the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships in the trash last week. Of course, Medusa famously, or infamously at this point, did on WCW back in the day with the WWF Women's Championship back in the day. We have a fatal 4-way tag team match coming up on this coming week's episode of NXT as I record this, to crown the new NXT Tag Team Championships now that, Cora Jade has kind of left her former partner in Roxanne. Roxanne has seemingly been forced to vacate them. I'm hoping that someone other than Toxic Attraction wins them, though, because otherwise it's going to be even more silly than it already is than, having them break up straight away. But maybe even Roxanne can come out with a surprise partner and become a 2-time NXT champion. But I am keen, although what did seem kind of rushed, to see what they have done, or see what they will do with Cora Jade in this heel mode, because I was a big fan of her as Elena Black on the Indies. But I'm looking forward to seeing how this week's episode of SmackDown goes under the regime of Triple H, if you will. Of course, the first episode of SmackDown under his regime. Obviously, this podcast is going to go out a day earlier this week, so SmackDown will have just finished today as you're hearing this, but I am looking forward to seeing what Triple H does with that, with his fingerprints on it, so to speak. And then obviously the really big one, and the main reason this episode is going out early, is SummerSlam, because this is going to be the first big show that's under Triple H's creative. So I'm expecting some big shakeups in just the presentation of the talent as a whole. And I really feel like next week's episode, or this coming episode of Raw, I should say, being the Raw after SummerSlam, it's almost, I feel like, going to have Raw after WrestleMania vibes. And as I keep saying, it is a lot of speculation, but I am just really excited just to see where the new era, if you want to call it that, will take us. Before I move on from all the Triple H talk, though, as I mentioned last week with Mrs. Crossfire, I do have a Triple H episode coming out at some point in the next few weeks. It's going to be the top 10 matches of Triple H's career, of course, in my opinion. But hit me up. Tell me what you think is the best Triple H match, or your favorite Triple H match. I tried my best to remain unbiased, as I have some matches that I like of his that didn't actually make the list in the grand scheme of things. For example, by pure coincidence, my favorite Eddie Guerrero match landed at number 1 in the best matches episode that I did back for Eddie in episode 10. but the two aren't mutually exclusive, if that makes sense. But yeah, hit me up. I'll read some, if not all, depending on how many I get out on that episode when I do finally get a chance to record it. But we'll move on to the match of the week this week. The match of the week is Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam 1991. This is a fantastic match. Definitely one for young upcoming wrestlers to study. I'll give it the old mwah, the chef's kiss. Both of these men truly ahead of their time in a lot of ways. And if you've never seen this match, 1000% go back and watch it. And hell, if you have watched it, go back and watch it again, because why not? It seemed fitting for this episode, seeing as how it was a SummerSlam preview / predictions, and I just feel like it's one of those ones that, it's one of those timeless classics almost, if you will. But yeah, that match is Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental Championship at SummerSlam 1991. But now for the main reason that I'm recording this episode, that is predictions for this year's SummerSlam, that year being 2022, if for whatever reason you're listening to this in like 3 or 4 years' time. But as always, there may be a little bit of fantasy booking in there. Well, definitely some fantasy booking to an extent for the most part, but it's my true realistic predictions. As always, I'm going to go through them in the order that I would book them. As of now, there doesn't seem to be a match on the kickoff show. They've seemingly done away with the kickoff matches in the last handful of shows. The kickoff shows have kind of just been just the panels and that's it, which honestly I don't mind. I kind of enjoy just having half an hour of boom, 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 what's your opinion, what's going to happen, video packages, and then we head into the main show. But match number 1, Theory versus Bobby Lashley for the US Championship. I think it's really simple. The winner retaining the US Championship is Bobby Lashley. Going even further beyond that, though, I don't think he's going to pin or submit Theory. I could be wrong. I said that my official prediction is Lashley wins. So if he wins, I win regardless. But I feel like going further, I think either count out or disqualification from Theory in favor of Bobby Lashley in this match here. Match number 2, Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I think Liv Morgan finds a way to retain here, specifically probably with another wacky roll-up, but I would love to see Liv hit a finish on Ronda and pin her clean, but I think that Liv somehow squeaks out the win here. Match number 3, you've got Happy Corbin versus Pat McAfee. I'm honestly expecting this to be a very good match. In my opinion, on paper, this is the sleeper match. Happy Corbin, such an underrated performer in my opinion. Pat McAfee's shown in such a short amount of time that he is an absolute natural. They do have a genuine history. They used to be roommates when they were playing football together. You know what they say about best friends? They're going to hit each other a lot harder, and in theory, they're going to have chemistry. But I'm expecting, regardless, this match to be one of the show stealers. But your winner is Happy Corbin, but Pat McAfee will still look strong, brother. Match number 4, we've got the Usos versus the Street Profits in a special guest referee match. Jeff Jarrett, that's Jeff Jarrett. Ain't I great? Jeff Jarrett will be the special guest referee. I think your winners and new tag team champions, the Street Profits, possibly with some sort of fuckery, and then the Street Profits finally get a proper, clean, decisive victory over in the UK at the end of August. Regardless, I do see the Street Profits and the Usos tearing it up, but I think your winners, new champions, the Street Profits. Match number 5, we were meant to have Seth Rollins versus Riddle, but it has been, quote, cancelled, unquote, due to a kayfabe injury to Riddle. Part of me did feel like Riddle was going to weasel his way into this match at the last minute, but Seth was still going to win due to that injury. Like, Riddle was going to come out, show a really valiant effort, but Seth was going to stomp him into the mat, get the win, and then kind of, build something from there. But apparently, according to the dirt sheets, the rumors, the speculation, more speculation, maybe I should call this episode SpeculationSlam. I don't know. Whatever, it's out there now. That's what it's going to be called. But if you want to believe the reports going around, that match has been postponed into the UK, and there's lots of teasing and speculation as to who Seth will face here at SummerSlam. Some are saying Bray Wyatt, Some are saying AJ Styles, which would be absolutely fantastic. Another is rumors of Solo Sikoa. This is going to potentially be where he gets called up from NXT. Of course, the younger brother of the Usos is Solo Sikoa. But my personal thinking and prediction, and again, maybe this is more just wishful thinking or fantasy booking, but I think that at SummerSlam it's going to be Seth Rollins versus a returning Johnny Gargano, who just appeared on Impact Wrestling today as I record this, but it was in a video package, so I'm assuming he's still a free agent, but hoping he's still a free agent for my fantasy booking / prediction to come true. But regardless of who his opponent is, I think Seth is still going to win. Like, if it's someone debuting on the main roster or even a free agent that's making a return, you'd expect them to kind of get a win in their moment. But I feel like at this point, what they're doing, Seth Rollins, no matter who he faces here at SummerSlam, has to get the win. Match number 6, the Mysterios versus Judgment Day. I think the Mysterios will get the win, and then we finally get the Dominic heel turn after the match while they're celebrating, possibly with a returning Edge making the save. I know that that's a fairly popular prediction that's going around and may seem even a little bit too predictable, but it's almost the perfect way to do it, though. Regardless of any post-match shenanigans, I think that the winners of this match have to be the Mysterios. Has to be the Mysterios. Like, people are saying that Judgment Day need the win, but I feel like coming off the back of what they did on this past week's Raw, I feel like it's only fitting that the Mysterios will get their retribution, so to speak. Match number 7, Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship. Very close call, but I think Bianca Belair just manages to retain the championship, and furthermore, I think she will be attacked by a returning Bayley after the match, who then goes on to capture the Raw Women's Championship from Bianca at Clash in the Capital in the UK. But Bianca Belair, my official prediction for Bianca versus Becky. Match number 8, Logan Paul versus The Miz. Unfortunately, I think Logan Paul gets the win here, possibly having WWE pull the trigger on a Miz face turn, but regardless, I think Logan Paul will get the win, and if anyone can make him look good, though, it is The Miz. And then we have match number 9, / the main event. We have Ooh-ah, the big dog, the tribal chief, acknowledge him. Yes, I'm a mark, fucking sue me. Roman Reigns versus the Beast, Brock Lesnar, in a last man standing match for the the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Now again, this is something that a lot of people are speculating on, but I both want and I think that Theory will cash in his WWE Money in the Bank briefcase right near the end of this match, possibly with Roman and Brock having a double down, just managing to pull themselves up simultaneously at 9. They're kind of in opposing corners. Commentators are doing the whole, my God, what's it gonna take for these men to keep each other down, blah, 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 blah. Austin Theory comes out, cashes in, picks up the scraps, and specifically wins the WWE Championship to keep Roman's longest ever reign as Universal Champion intact. I'd love there to be some kind of smoz as well, where Theory's celebrating with both belts, and then Paul Heyman's kind of like, hold up a minute, read the fine print on the contract, yada, yada, yada. But regardless, my official prediction is that this match effectively goes to a no contest, and we have Theory come out, cashes in his championship, cashes in his briefcase, and wins the championship. But as always, guys, hit me up. Let me know what your predictions are / were, depending on when you're listening to this. And of course, when this originally drops, as I said, it's going to be a day early in preparation for SummerSlam. But just to recap, my predictions were Lashley, Liv Morgan, Happy Corbin, Street Profits, Seth Rollins in whatever match he may end up in, the Mysterios, Bianca Belair, Logan Paul, and Theory cashing in Money in the Bank during the main event. I guess we'll find out at SummerSlam, and then subsequently on next week's episode just how right or wrong I might have been. But as I said, this episode, bit of a short one this week. That's going to do it for another week. Thank you, as always, for your support, and just a reminder to keep checking those links in the description to stay up to date with whatever's happening with me, my Pro Wrestling Tees store, my Amazon wishlist is in there respectively. I've got a few shirt designs in the pipeline. They should be dropping in the first few days of this episode originally airing, so keep an eye out for those. Once again, thank you to Aunt Catherine for purchasing the webcam off my wishlist and the Eels jersey as well. I'm keen for that to arrive. The song of the week this week was Let Me Let Go by Citizen Soldier. The match of the week this week was Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam 1991. There are birds chirping and I can hear them in my headphones, so if you guys can hear it, my bad. I am the essential John L. Crossfire, and you were just caught in conversation. Speculation!